Hopefully that is now working. Sorry about that. Just wanted to get back to make sure I was recording.
Okay, so barriers to travel. I can't use tunnels and escalators on my own, and other people might not be able to deal with the crowds and the noise of the trains. If you're unable to go into the station because one of the lights is flickering at a different speed to the others, then that station can be inaccessible to you. Next slide. And then next slide. So sensory issues. Sensory barriers are everywhere. The crowds, noises, smells, movements, lights, patterns, they all make the experience of travel really, really difficult. Some train carriages look like a 70s living room to me. There's so many patterns going on that I just can't focus. So during the journey, it takes a lot of my energy not to be distracted by noise, by the smells and by the patterns. Next slide. So that's more of the sensory issues. Next slide. So communication barriers. So for me, this is another barrier. So staff talking to each other, so you don't know when to interrupt. I'm not very good at conversations anyway, or talking to people. So to try and approach staff that are speaking at a gate line, I could be standing there for ages, not knowing when to ask for assistance. Another one is announcements. Some of them are too long or too loud or too quiet. Sometimes they can come in from the train and from the platform at the same time. So I don't know which one I can be listening to. Also, signs are confusing. Sometimes they're even not in the correct place or not clear what they're meant to say. Next slide. So these are some of the signs. So on the first slide is a picture of the dogs must be carried sign. So for me, the dogs must be carried as the same way, meaning as tickets must be shown, which is in like the middle sign. So who do I show my ticket to and where do I get a dog? So the next slide. Again, more unclear communication. The first slide says this area is under video surveillance. Any person seen urinating in this area will be dealt with by the police. That means that the rest of Bank Station is a free-for-all. You can urinate anywhere else in Bank Station, just not in this area. The same with the other two. Do not leave rubbish in this area and keep this area clear. Next slide. How can I get help? So on station platforms, there are help points. They're normally on the platform or they're just off the platform. They're not always in the most obvious places. And these are two examples of help points. On the left is the alarm point, which is used on the DLR. So they call it the alarm point and not a help point. And on the right is the one that's used by London Underground, the Overground, and some rail stations, though it may look a bit different depending on what station you're in. Now, to get assistance, you need to push either the information button on the help point or the passenger alarm button on the alarm point. So, but that goes straight to a control centre and you can tell them what assistance you need. And they are normally watching you on the CCTV on the station, so they can see you and know where you are. Next slide. So you can use turn up and go for most TfL and rail stations, as long as you don't have a need for a ramp or a staff assistance at a station where there's no staff. So if that is the case, you can book assistance, especially if you are going on a long journey. It's normally better to book assistance. But you can use turn up and go. You can just approach the staff and ask for assistance, book assistance, or use the help points, like I said before, to get staff assistance. Next slide. So, how to find staff at stations. Station staff are really well trained. TfL especially have changed their staffing policy. So they normally hire people who have worked in the public sector, or they've worked where there is a lot of customer assistance. So they know how to approach people and how to talk to people. They're really, really well trained. They're normally wearing uniform, and you can normally find them in the ticket hall or the gate line. So you can just approach them and they will help you. On the buses, it's hard to know when you can approach a bus driver because they tell you not to talk while the bus is moving. And sometimes it's hard to know when they can step in and offer assistance, but they will step in if you ask them to, or if you need assistance, they will try their best to help you. Next slide. So that's more about the buses and about how they have to pull into the curb, lower the bus, deploy the wheelchair ramp, and ask people to make space for wheelchair users. And this is also for people with mobility pushchairs. So the pushchairs that are classed as wheelchairs, they can also ask people to clear out that area for them as well. Okay. Next slide. So next ones are going to be tips for travelling. The next slide. So these are some of the tips that I have for travelling with autism, or if you have someone with autism. So for me, I like to visit a station. I normally visit a station several times before I even use it. Sometimes I try and look at photos or pictures online of what the station looks like, how high up it is. Does it look like there's going to be a help point outside? How will I get staff? Just so that I familiarise myself with the layout and how to get help. TfL have a mentor service that can help anxious passengers. They're really good. It's a free service, and they will come on journeys with you, and they will also help you plan journeys. So you can ring them up and say, I need to get from here to there, but I'm really anxious, and that they can book a time to come with you and to trial the journey. So it builds your confidence. So they're really good. That's a really good service. Another tip is use a social story. So sometimes plotting it out into a story, describing what will happen on the journey, what stops you will be getting off, what the buses look like, what the trains look like is really helpful. Use travel assist or turn up and go. So that's the assistance services that I spoke about. Take each journey in stages and try and have alternatives in case one stage fails. So I normally have 2 or 3 journeys in my head at one time. So I know if I get off one bus, I can get another bus if I need to. Or if I get on that train and there's a disruption, I can get off and try and change and get on another train. Just so that I don't panic. Because sometimes it's the unknown that's really, really scary. Another one is use a transport app to plan your journey and confirm it on a second one. So I don't just rely on one transport app, I have 2. And I try and check before I travel, because sometimes a lift may be out or a train line may be not working anymore because of power failure or something. So I always check before I travel in case something unexpected happens. Next slide. Use one of the travel assistance cards. So there's autism awareness card, there's the lanyards, there's also, they've launched a couple of new cards. There's a travel assist card now that you can use to give to staff so you don't have to have verbal communication, so they can read it and understand what you need from them. There's a jam card, which is just a minute card, which tells staff that you need things to be done slowly or may need a bit more time to understand what they're saying. Use headphones and or a hat to block out sensory stimuli. I do this. I also use sunglasses as well sometimes, just to block out the lights and the patterns. So headphones, hat and sunglasses are really good. Next one, staff are normally found on gate lines again, but if you can't find a staff, use a help point or alarm point on the DLR. Another one, try and keep all the travel documents together. So try and keep your tickets, your assistance cards, try and keep them all in one place so you know where they are. If you are struggling, try and find a quiet spot to wait and calm down before continuing with the journey. This can be to one side of the platform, away from the platform, or even sometimes just leave the station and then go back into the station after you feel better. Next one. And these are some of the assistance cards and badges. There's also the Offer Me a Seat badge and the Offer Me a Seat card as well for priority seat users. So that's good. And then some train companies do priority seat badges and cards as well. So I think that's it. So the last slide, that's my email if you have any transport related questions. And Mark has got, given Mark a document with helplines on. So if you need any of the badges or cards, you can ring up the helplines, or if you need travel assistance, you can ring up the helplines that are on that document.
That's great. Thanks very much. I'll just check on any sort of questions. I can see the question from Drea was asking about where you get all the cards from, and also your email address. So I'll keep, hopefully you can still see the email address on screen. I wanted to say to Drea, by the way, you can always email greenwich@nes.org.uk for some of these badges and cards, as Claire has helpfully given us quite a few that we can share to people. Did you want to mention anything more, Claire, about where to get all the various cards?
So from the cards, there's you can Google Jam card, and that will give you the organisation that sends out the Jam card. You can get the Sunflower lanyard and Jam card and Travel Assist card from Southeastern railway stations. Well, you should be able to. There are some at London Bridge at the moment, but they should have them in their local railway station. If you can't, you can ask them to send you one. Again, that's on the document that I sent to Mark. So if Mark wants to send that document out to whoever attends, then that will give you the list of the phone numbers of the accessibility teams. And it would also give you the travel mentor phone number. Email, I think, is on there as well. So if you want to contact the travel mentor service, then you can on that document.
Thanks. So yes, Drea, we'll be able to share out contact details afterwards to you. Haley asks about how you get a mentor to help. Is there a contact for mentors to get through?
Yeah, it's TFL Travel Mentor at tfl.gov.uk. You can look on the TFL website and it will take you to a link there. It's also on the document again, as I mentioned, that Mark has that he can share afterwards.
Great. Thanks. I did want to mention to people, we're happy to email you the copies of the slides and the extra information as well. Again, our email is greenwich@nes.org.uk. Great. Okay. Any other questions from anyone in regards to transport? Okay. All right. It's 5:30. So what we'll do, thanks very much, Claire. Appreciate that. What we'll do now is I'll just switch over to our slides again. And hopefully you can see on screen what we will now do is introduce Trevor Harper from Department of Work and Pensions, who's focuses on disability employment in covering Southeast London, I believe, quite a few boroughs. And he'll talk about a range of benefits available, such as PIP, universal credit, access to work, and others. I'm sure there's quite a bit more. Trevor, give me one moment to bring up your slide.
Thank you very much.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see. Take it away, Trevor, I guess.
Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. Thank you very much for inviting us, Mark. I spoke to Mark a couple of weeks ago. He was very inviting and welcomed us to come to this meeting to give you a quick overview of benefits. There are a lot, obviously, there's a lot of detail in this. So this is a fairly quick overview. In the presentation, we have links. I don't know if Mark can share that with everyone, but there are links to gov.uk, where there's a lot of quite easy readable information on benefits and how to claim them. So we've got this presentation of myself and Ade. I manage the Disability Employment Advisors for Bromley, Bexley, Lewisham and Greenwich boroughs. Ade is the Disability Employment Advisor for Greenwich Borough. Between us, we will do our best to deliver this presentation and answer any questions you may have. Ade, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, we do. My name is Ade. I work at Wally Job Center, and I'm the Disability Employment Advisor over there. And I've been a Disability Employment Advisor for a long period of time. So I think I'm relatively experienced to support to answer most queries.
Very experienced, yeah. Thank you, Ade. Could we have the first page, please?
There you go, hopefully.
Thank you. So this is one of our more common, the most common benefits called universal credit. It is a payment to help you deal with your living costs. It's normally paid monthly, or twice a month for some people. It says in Scotland on the screen, but it can apply locally as well. It depends how you manage your money. It was developed to replace a number of benefits. So it replaced child tax credit, housing benefit, income support, income-based job seekers allowance, income-based employment and support allowance, and working tax credits. Basically, it pays it all in one lump sum rather than applying for all these separate benefits. It's next slide, please. So the eligibility, you may be able to get universal credit if you're on a low income or out of work. If you're over 18, there are some exceptions, and you can claim it if you're 16 or 17 as well. It depends on your personal circumstances. You've got to be under state pension age, because you would get pension credit in that case if you're over the state pension age. You have less than £16,000 in savings, and you live in the UK. Again, all on gov.uk. There's a link below there, and you can apply directly. We're always ready to support people. So if you have any issue, any concerns about this, or any problems, you can come to myself or Ade, and we'll happily support you. Next page, please. The new job. This is something Ade is probably more knowledgeable about than myself.
Yes,
So
I will. Let me step in.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's okay. Under the old system, we used to have job seekers allowance, and that's already replaced by universal credit. And what it means is, if you are claiming universal credit and if there's a change in your circumstances, we just sort of like record the change in circumstances, and you will still remain on universal credit. You won't need to go out of the benefit you are getting to try and find out what else you can be entitled to. So under the universal credit, we don't have the job seekers allowance as a standalone benefit anymore. But if you were working before and you've made enough contribution in the previous 2 years, because you were in employment before, but now you are out of employment, you might be able to claim the new style job seekers allowance. But if you are getting job seekers allowance before, that one will continue until maybe there's a change in your circumstances, or you are transferred over to universal credit. Next slide, please. And for the new style job seekers allowance, it gives you a list of when you could satisfy it. And the main part is having worked the last 2 years and contributed enough towards the national insurance. But there is a huge list of the eligibility, and there's a website address at the bottom of that page. Go onto it if you think it's appropriate for you, and have a look at the different range of criteria that has to be satisfied first. Next page, please. And we go on to employment and support allowance. This one is similar to job seekers allowance. The difference is for this, it's for someone who is not well enough to work. And the same thing applies to employment support allowance. You cannot make a new claim to employment support allowance under the old system. You can only put in a claim as a new style employment support allowance. And that will also mean for those that have worked in the last 2 years and made enough contribution, and they are no longer able to continue working at that point in time. I've got a question. Do you want to repeat that question again? Maybe I could answer it before I move on.
The question was, why would anyone with a lifelong disability want to apply for JSA?
You might have a long life disability, but still able to work. So having a disability doesn't automatically means you cannot have a job or want to work. So that choice should still be open to everybody, depending on that person's circumstances.
Yeah, in my experience as well, a lot of people with severe disabilities don't want to be categorized as having a disability, and they did claim job seekers allowance because they wanted to get a job and they didn't want to be seen as having a disability and not supported to look for work. So yeah, it depends on the individual. It's not a compulsory thing, but some people choose work focused?
Oh, like I said, I'm a disability employment advisor. If we are meant to be indifferent to our customers' needs, I wouldn't be in this position. So with being a disability employment advisor, I'm always on the lookout for what can we do for a customer for them to achieve what they want to achieve, if that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And we work very hard at the job center to make that a possibility. We are there to support. If anybody is not having that support, you could always request to speak with the disability employment advisor in whichever job center you are at. And that service should be made available to you.
Thank you, Ade. Yeah.
Can we go on to the next slide, please? Thank you. And we also have pension credit. We're putting the information about this because you might happen to have someone with over the retirement age or pensionable age, and the pension credit is the benefit that can be claimed instead of maybe job seekers allowance or ESA. That's employment and support allowance. If someone had reached the pensionable age, they wouldn't be entitled to universal credit. And the pension credit would be the appropriate benefit for them. Next page, please. We have the personal independence payment. And this is the help you can get, extra financial support you can get if you have a long-term physical or mental health condition or disability. And you might be able to get this benefit and still be able to hold down a job. So it doesn't depend on one or the other. So it depends on someone's disability and how the disability or condition affects that person. And for more information about that, we've included a link or two links. One is for information about the personal independence payment, and the second one is more information on how to actually complete the form, because the entitlement is determined by the quality of the information provided on the form. So you might want to use the second link just to find out what information will be useful while claiming personal independence payment. Next slide, please. We have disability living allowance, but this one had been replaced by personal independence payment. But we must say have some people on the disability living allowance, but gradually everybody is being moved on onto personal independence payment. For disability living allowance, that's still applicable, that can be applied for children under the age of 16. And the information on how to apply for that is in the link below. Next page, please. And we've got carer's allowance. Carer's allowance is payable to a carer looking after somebody that is maybe claiming personal independence payment at the for the right component, which is usually the living living
wage
component. No, it's the living component under personal independence payment. And if that person is also caring for the person with a disability for up to 35 hours a week. They could still work, but the numbers of hours the carers will be working, it will be limited because they have to be available to care for the person with a disability for up to 35 hours each week. Under universal credit, you don't necessarily have to be claiming carer's allowance for you to still be recognized as being a carer. So for that, if someone is receiving universal credit and they're caring for someone with a disability, then they will need to complete a special form for universal credit, just for them to make a note that that person is a carer and for them to be able to receive the correct rate of universal credit. Next page, please. We've got a list of the different benefits that someone should be entitled to before they will be able to apply or be eligible for carers allowance. The main benefits are the personal independence payment for the daily living component, the middle rate or highest care rate for under disability living allowance, or maybe the person with the disability is getting attendance allowance or constant attendance allowance, or armed forces independence payment. And also the more information under the link. That always different criteria or exceptions to all the qualifying conditions for the different benefits. So the best option is always to check on the government website for the full information. Next slide, please. Now, we have people claiming benefits, but it's not just to claim benefits, it's also for us to support them if working is a possibility. And we've got some employment support. We've got different programs that can be very useful. We've got the individual personalized employment support, and we've got the work and health program. These are the two main programs that address the needs of people with disabilities. If you want more information or you want support through these programs, get in touch with your job center and your work coach or an advisor within the job center will be able to discuss further with you. And we've also got useful schemes. And we've got the disability confidence scheme. The scheme is to encourage employers to employ people with disabilities. And you could apply for jobs or you could search for jobs under this disability confidence scheme. We've got employers signed up under that scheme. And the promise they've made is that they will consider people with disabilities, provided that they've got the skills necessary for the job. So they will be guaranteed, almost the guarantee to consider them for job interviews, to put reasonable adjustments in place for them if they're employed, to make it possible for them to be able to hold on the job. And that tool the employer could make use of, and you as an employee can make use of, is also the access to work. And that will pay for any reasonable adjustment that will be necessary if you're in a work environment. And the reasonable adjustment will be looking at what might be stopping you from being able to do the job properly due to your disability. So one of the reasonable adjustment that can be paid for might be for you to get taxi to get to work and back home. It could be to get a special computer for you or a special chair, anything that will make it possible for you to be able to do the job better and take away the restrictions of having the disability is causing. And the access to work will pay up to a tune of, I think, it used to be 56,000, but I think it's gone up now. I haven't got the actual figure. Trevor, do you have the figure by any chance?
I think it was 57,300, I think, last year. It's gone up again, so I think it might be 59,000 per annum, the maximum.
and that's per person.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the cost of putting in reasonable adjustment tends not to be as high as that per person. And the access to work will also pay for someone, like a body, to go into work with an employee. So
Yeah, to
so many
support
people
you.
to be paid for, yeah, to support you at work. Next page, please.
Is that the last slide?
Oh,
Yeah, that's because you haven't got, I sent an update, but I don't think you managed to get that one too.
No, I noticed, I'm afraid that it was a little bit after we started, so it was,
Yes.
Ah,
No problem.
shall I
But
bring
I
it
think
up? Would that help?
it's just only one slide left, and that was about making benefits calculations to find out what you might be entitled to.
yeah, that's very useful.
Yeah, very useful.
Bear with me. Let me see if I can find it and bring it up. Just 1 second.
Thank you.
I just saw a note come up, a question come up asking
Okay.
if there was an age limit, so a lower age limit for access to work. I don't believe there is. Ade, do you know?
It might be roughly 16.
Yeah, that's what I believe. The question was it 18? I believe it would be 16.
Yeah.
We can check these and come back to you. If someone's working, but they leave.
And even though you might
Yes,
be
they
16,
could. Yeah.
even
Is
though
the
it might
answer.
be 16 or 18, there are always tends to be exceptions for every role. So it might say 18 is the minimum age, but if these conditions are satisfied, that person might be considered. So it's always good to go back to the government's website to actually find out if there is any exception. I'm just going to have a quick look for you.
Sorry.
Can I say? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, from one of the queries earlier, it was someone who had had a bad experience at the job centre. Everyone's different. Our disability employment advisors are very focused on supporting people. We've usually got lived experience of ourselves. Most people have got a health condition of some sort, including myself. I'm very sensitive to that and to supporting people. I'm very happy if Mark shares my email address if anyone wants to send any queries. If I know the answer myself, I'll give it to you. If I don't, I will get someone who does know the answer to respond. Yeah, we're here to help, so we do want to help people. We do obviously focus on getting people into work, but there's a lot of steps for some people to get into work. It could be developing your confidence, developing skills, getting familiar with coming out the house. There's a lot of steps we can take. There's training. There's a lot of different steps, and we're very happy to help people go in the right direction. If you want more details on benefits, I have supplied Mark with a lot more detail in our presentation. And again, I'm very happy for Mark to share that. If anyone's got any specific questions, please contact me. I'll be very happy to support you. We want what's best for you, so that's why we're here today. We normally finish work at 5 o'clock, but we're here because we want to help, so please contact us.
And the access to work, the eligibility age is from the age of 16.
Thanks, Ade. Excellent.
I've brought up in a small screen, sorry about that, the missing slide around the benefit calculations, if you wanted to say anything about that.
No, it's not displaying.
It's not displaying, but...
Sorry. Let me see. Give me 1 second. We'll stop and then start again. Can you see that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not displaying in full screen, but we can see it.
Sorry, yeah, it's embedded in the email and
Yeah, that's better.
there. Hopefully that helps. Did you want to mention anything about this or?
Yeah, this is really useful. On gov.uk, there are several benefit calculators, but the one we'd recommend is this one. Can't see the top one, but it's called Entitled To. And you just put in your details, your personal circumstances, and it gives you an idea of what benefits you can claim. And it's really useful. It's really useful for it can identify if you can be a carer, identified as a carer, if you could apply for PIP, personal independence payments, a lot of universal credit. There's a lot of benefits that are rolled up into one inside it. It's an external website. It's not gov.uk, but from personal experience, it's a very good website to use, and it gives you a very good idea of what your next step should be. But again, any problems, contact me. We'll go through. We'll find out for you. Okay. Have you got anything to add about that, Ade?
Apart from the gov.uk, it's the government's website, and it's full of any information you might want to know about. Any information you are after, you should be able to find it there relating to benefit. If you're not sure what the information is saying, you can always get in touch with us at the job center.
A message just came up then about whether people on legacy benefits would be transferred over with protections. As far as I'm aware, there's no plan on. People are slowly migrating over as they claim benefit, start work or their circumstances change. The universal credit system is different because it supports people going into work. So effectively, the more work you do, there's a tailored approach, so your benefit slowly decreases rather than it being a cliff edge cut off as it is for job seekers allowance and ESA. You start work over 16 hours, your benefit stops. With universal credit, your benefit slowly drops. The more you earn, slightly reduced benefits are paid as your income increases. Another question just came up then, but I couldn't see what it was.
I think it was a follow-up around, it was meant to be 2021, then 2022.
Is this for is this for the transfer over to other benefits, to the universal credit?
Yeah, it was a follow-up to the legacy benefit.
Yes. As far as I'm aware, especially with COVID, any changes have been put on hold as far as I know. So there's nothing happening at the moment. That's all I can say on that.
Okay, just quickly scanning back. So did we catch the other ones? If someone was working but they leave due to illness, can they claim universal credit straight away?
Yeah, of course they can. Yeah, it'll be any severance pay might be taken into account, but yes, you can put in even if you're working, you can put in a claim to universal credit. It's designed to help people on low incomes boost their income. So yeah.
Okay. And there was a follow-up question about access to work is only available if someone is working. Why is this?
Well, it's in the title, really. But Ade?
The access to work is to support people with disabilities to gain employment. Because you find out that if someone has got a disability, it actually affects or impacts on what you can do in the work environment. And an example is maybe someone in a wheelchair might not be able to get in a building, and that might stop them from being offered a job. With access to work, they will look at what changes can we make to the building. to make it possible with a person with a wheelchair to access it and to be able to work in that office on that premises. So that's what access to work is for, is to take away the barriers, what's stopping someone with disabilities from taking up a job. Or if they're in work already, of being able to continue with the job.
I believe access to work can be used for interviews. Another question just came up then.
It can be used for interviews also.
Okay, I'm just trying to quickly make sure we've covered off. How old do you have to be to do access to work? Is it 18?
16.
16.
Ade, just check that, yeah.
Okay, I'm just quickly going backwards a little bit just to make sure we haven't missed anything.
Yeah, of course.
Dan asks about why those of us with PIP who was in a review this year and was contacted back in December and replied and sent back the forms in December have yet to hear about any communication about if those forms were received by DWP or if there are any issues with the forms that were sent back, as the main review is in October coming up, and it means time could be lost or it could lose the PIP just because of lack of communication.
Yeah, of course. That is something you would have to. Obviously, we can't answer that individual question where we're sitting, whether it was received on time, whether there's an issue with the form, whether it's all been processed and you haven't received the communication because of IT issues. That I don't know, but we're happy to look into any of these cases. So, yeah, please, if you.
Sorry, Trevor.
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Generally, I think what's the pandemic is having an impact on our response rate. So some of these, the reviews might be delayed a little bit. But I don't think, apart from wanting to know if the review form had been received, with that, I will advise get in touch with the PIP, Personal Independence Payment team, to find out if they've actually received the form back, and they should be able to let you know that. As soon as they've got the form, they will have to make a decision. So it wouldn't become whenever your review is due, you just automatically lose your benefits. It will not happen that way because they will have to review the claim before making a decision. And there is always a right to appeal also attached to most decisions.
Yes, but you do also have a limited time in that appeal process to appeal it. And if the communication is this difficult in regards to replying back within 3 months since the time it's been sent out, then that clearly means that if there's that kind of problem already with the communication, anyone who wanted to appeal may not be able to appeal in time from the lapse of that that form and that judgment.
What I would like to advise is, if you think you've waited long enough beyond the time when they are meant to be getting in touch with you, get in touch with the team and they will let you know what's going on if you need to get anything done. It's always good to check on it just to make sure they've actually gotten your form back. So get in touch with that team and check with them.
Okay.
I think all these services have become a lot more responsive these days. After COVID, everything's gone online. There is a much more receptive and accessible service. So please, yeah, have a look on gov.uk website for the contact number. If you need help, again, happy to go for Mark to share my email address, or you could share it with Mark and Mark can contact me.
Okay, just one, I realize we're running a bit over, so just one last, there was a comment about surely someone could use access to work if they're looking for work.
No, that isn't the case, because access to work is to address barriers of getting to work and accessing the location, etc. So it might be it's not for. I can't. If you mean, is the query more about equipment? So you might want equipment at home to support you to look for work, like a specialist computer with accessibility features. That wouldn't be supplied through Access to Work, because it is to support people into work, not to look for work.
But then at the job center, we've got different schemes, and that's where the employment support we put on the work and health program, the individual personalized employability support, where they come in. So if you need any special support to actually gain employment in the first place, they speak with your job center and they will make available what support is available.
Yeah.
There was another question about how do you appeal a PIP decision if you've missed the appeal date by months?
It will depend on the reason. It will depend on the reason why the appeal was missed for so many months. And you will need to speak with the personal independence payment team, and for them to agree that you have the room to still be able to appeal. They have to accept that it's okay for you to put in the appeal. So your reason for missing it in the first place must be very tangible.
And it just came in that the form was filled in incorrectly by the support worker, which you would think would be a good reason.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a couple of messages.
Personal independence payment, yeah, the personal independence payment team, and they will be able to consider it and decide on what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. A couple more messages came in then, but I didn't have a chance to read them.
Oh, yeah. So it was the amount of savings allowed for people with lifelong impairments which is 16K, is very low after 3 to 6 of having the benefit of Social Security. Does it ever rise?
It hasn't risen for a little while, has it?
No, it hasn't.
Okay. But it does rise, but it hasn't for some time now. Is that?
Indeed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's reviewed regularly, and then determine if it's still the right amount or not, or the right level. But it hasn't changed in the last few years.
Yeah, it's quite a while, isn't it? It's been 16,000.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there was another message again from the same person about the form being filled in wrongly, and mentioning, so it was more around that reason why it was missed.
Yeah, that would be for the access for the PIP, personal independent payment team, to decide if that was good cause. Okay. So yeah, but they will look at it fairly and honestly. So yeah, get in touch with them is what I would advise. Have that discussion.
Okay. Thanks very much for all that. I think we're a little bit over time with questions and things, but I hope that was helpful for people. And thanks very much to yourself, Trevor and Ade, for that. And
we're very happy to help. We are very happy to help. We're happy to come back again. Yeah, whatever you'd like, really. Yeah, we're here to help you. So we welcome questions.
And thanks again to also Claire for her talk on transport. And what I wanted to again say to everybody was that we will be able to basically share the slides with that information and links you will have seen in the slides. And we're happy to pass on any further queries if you want to email us at greenwich@nes.org.uk. and we can certainly help pass them on. And we'll stop this recording now. And by all means,